Jesus ties, right? Tuning in today to talk about the CCRU, the Cybernetic Culture Research Unit. The reason I'm bringing them up is in relation to the Leviathan I've been talking about. The Leviathan is the spirit or the law that controls the society. My theory is the CCRU is the hidden hand who curates the culture. Let me introduce you a little bit to the CCRU. It was an experimental cultural theorist collective formed in late 1995 at Warwick University, England, which gradually separated from academia until it dissolved in the early 2000s, or so they say. It garnered reputation for its idiosyncratic and surreal theory fiction, which incorporated philosophy, cyberpunk, and occultism. And its work has since had an online cult following related to the rise in the popularity of accelerationism. Take a look at that. Later we'll get into that, but look into that for yourself. See what that is and how it relates to American culture. The CCRU are strongly associated with their former leading members, Sadie Plant, Mark Fisher, and Nick Land. Established at the University of Warwick Philosophy Department, the group listed their interests as cinema, complexity, currencies, dance music, e-cash, encryption, feminism, fiction, images, inorganic life, jungle, markets, matrices, microbiotics, multimedia, networks, numbers, perception, replication, sex, simulation, sound, telecommunication, textiles, text, trade, video, virtuality, and war. Leon Hamilton Grant notes neuromancer are particularly influential in the group's formation. Jungle music was a crucial part of the CCRU. I'll get back to that. With Fisher stating that the CCRU was trying to do something with writing what jungle with its samples such as Predator, Terminator, and Blade Runner was doing in sound. Text at sample velocity, as Caldwell Isham put it. In addition to building off of Gilles Deleuze and Felix Guattari's anti-Oedipus and 1,000 Plateaus, to which references can be found in the CCRU's writing, the collective variously drew from writers including H.P. Lovecraft, William Gibson, J.G. Ballard, Friedrich Nietzsche, Octavia Butler, William S. Burroughs, and Carl Jung. Fisher described the CCRU's work as a kind of exuberant anti-politics and tech-nihilo celebration of the irrelevance of human agency, partly inspired by the pro-market, anti-capitalism line developed by Manuel de Landa out of Brundle, and from the section of anti-Oedipus that talks about marketization as the revolutionary path. The CCRU's work is considered to be a precursor to Sino-futurism due to their interest in China as an ideal society for accelerationism, with Scottish electronic musician and CCRU member Code 9 having coined the term Sino-futurism. Their later work drew upon occultism, esotericism, numerology, and the work of Lovecraft and Aleister Crowley. Roque Jimenez de Cisneros considered the CCRU's work influential on the development of speculative realism, while Fisher considered speculative realism to be returning to the CCRU's area of interest in 2010. One of the CCRU's predominant ideas is hyperstition, which Nick Land referred to as the experimental technoscience of self-fulfilling prophecies, where by means of esoteric cybernetic principles, certain ideas and beliefs that are initially incomprehensible, akin to superstition, can covertly circulate through reality and establish cultural feedback loops that then drastically meld society, which they also refer to in total as cultural production. The CCRU's esoteric numerological cybernetic system for comprehending hyperstition, the numogram, often appears in their writings alongside its circulatory zones and their respective demons. And pause it right there. We pick back up. All right, in my crazy theory, the CCRU picked up where the technocrats left off at. And technocracy is a system of governments where decision-making power is delegated to technical experts such as scientists, engineers, and economists rather than elected politicians. It prioritizes data-driven empirical problem solving and efficiency over political ideology and public opinion. Key characteristics in philosophy: the expert leaderships. Leaders and policymakers known as technocrats are appointed based on their specialized expertise and domain knowledge. Sound kind of familiar? Their focus is on efficiencies. Technocracies aim to optimize the production and distribution of resources, often utilizing scientific management principles to eliminate waste. They want you to be efficient. Notice some of the things that are going on in your workplace. If you work in the world, just pay attention and see how this could potentially relate to that. And this is the reason why. These are pros. The info state, modern adaptations of the philosophy like those advocated in Parag Khanna's Technocracy in America, often propose restructuring governments to combine technocratic expertise with civic data tracking. The history of the movement, the concept gained major traction during the 1930s in the US and Canada as a response to the Great Depression. Groups like Technocracy Inc. argued that rapid industrialization made traditional democratic and capitalist systems obsolete, advocating instead for a non-monetary energy-based economic system. The criticisms of technocracy. The primary criticism of technocracy is its lack of democratic representation. Critics argue that delegating power to unelected elites can result in detachment from public values, elitism, and disregard for human rights that cannot be quantified in a spreadsheet. And the reason that I'm bringing it up is just the day and age that we're living in. You can see that happening all over the place, where the average person is talking about political parties such as the Democrats or the Republicans. What's happening right before our very eyes is people, foreign actors or foreign, I don't even know what to call them, just people that are not from this country are getting a lot of the, not only defense contracts, but the government contracts in general. And as they get these government contracts, they are then influencing people and communities or body politics and melding it into the shape in which they see fit. And honestly, a lot of these people would be considered, not, how can I say this nicely? They are typically people who have Asperger's and are incels, and they see society a certain way they would like it to be, in theory, without any real world backing, and they're pushing forward these ideas through media and propaganda, and they are changing our children right before our eyes, along with a lot of you grown-ups, a lot of you adults. And this isn't Taj just being like, harsh or anything like that. I'm just making, like I said, I am very observant, and I see how certain propaganda, when pushed, controls a population and gets them to change and creates a need for correction. problem, reaction, solution. Hegelian dialectic is a triad that operates in a feedback loop, essentially. All right, take another quick pause. Cybernetics, control theory. As it is applied to complex systems, cybernetics is associated with models in which a monitor compares what is happening to a system at various sampling times with some standard of what should be happening, and the controller adjusts the system's behavior accordingly. The term cybernetics comes from the ancient Greek word kybernetikos, good at steering, referring to the art of the helmsman. In the first half of the 19th century, the French physicist André-Marie Ampère, in his classification of the sciences, suggested that the still non-existent science of the control of governments be called cybernetics. The term was soon forgotten, however, and it was not used again until the American mathematician Norbert Wiener published his book Cybernetics in 1948. In that book, Wiener made reference to an 1868 article by British physicist James Clerk Maxwell on governors, and pointed out that the term governor is derived via Latin from the same Greek word that gives rise to cybernetics. The date of Wiener's publication is generally accepted as the marking the birth of cybernetics as an independent science. Wiener defines cybernetics as the science of control and communications in the animal and machine. This definition relates to cybernetics closely with the theory of automatic control and also with physiology, particularly the physiology of the nervous system. For instance, a controller might be the human brain, which might receive signals from a monitor, the eyes, regarding the distance between a reaching hand and an object to be picked up. The information sent by the monitor to the controller is called feedback. And on the basis of this feedback, the controller might issue instructions to bring the observed behavior, the reach of the hand, closer to the desired behavior, the picking up of the object. Indeed, some of the earliest works done in cybernetics was to study control rules by which human action takes place, with the goal of constructing artificial limbs that could be tied in with the brain. In subsequent years, the computer and all areas of mathematics related to it, mathematical logic, had a great influence on the development of cybernetics, for the simple reason that computers can be used not only for automatic calculations, but also for conversions of information, including the various types of information processing used in control systems. This enhanced abilities of computers has made possible two different views of cybernetics. The narrower view, common in Western country, defines cybernetics as the science of the control of complex systems of various types, technical, biological, or social. In many Western countries, particular emphasis is given to the aspect of cybernetics used in the generation of control systems and technology and in living organisms. A broader view of cybernetics arose in Russia and other Soviet republics and prevailed there for many years. In this broader definition, cybernetics includes not only the science of control, but all forms of information processing as well. In this way, computer science, considered a separate discipline in the West, is included as one of the component parts of cybernetics. So the reason that I'm bringing this up is, again, the control of the algorithm, and how while some will make it seem like your algorithm, or may believe that algorithms are random, they are not. They are set up to lead you in a particular direction to end up at a particular point, in order for them to continue to control you and control your behavior, such as spending, mating, so on and so forth. But I'm going to take a brief break, and we're going to jump back into some definitions. All right, cybernetics is the interdisciplinary study of systems, communication, and control, primarily focusing on feedback loops and self-regulation. In the context of culture, it explores how human societies, digital networks, and institutions adapt, learn, and maintain equilibrium. This intersection frames culture itself as an evolving information processing organism. Reminds you a lot of Leviathan if you're thinking about that. And the Leviathan is described in the book of Isaiah as a crooked serpent. And if we believe Isaiah to be the prophet, a prophet of God, that would be like sort of like prophecy being fulfilled. The crooked serpent being the thing that takes away your free will, and you're doing things that you not even sometimes not even aware that you're doing, but you don't even know how you got to the point where you started doing some of the things that you do. The dialogue between cybernetics and cultural spans several key philosophical and historical movements. The Macy conferences in 1940s and 50s, anthropologists like Gregory Bateson and Margaret Mead applied early cybernetic theory to human culture, suggesting that traditions and social rituals function as self-correcting systems to maintain societal balance. Cyberfeminism and posthumanism. Theorists like Sadie Plant and Donna Haraway use cybernetics to deconstruct the boundaries between human bodies, society, and technology. They envision new social roles free from historical gender binaries, viewing the cyborg as a cultural symbol of hybridity. The CCRU, emerging in the mid-1990s at Warwick University, this experimental collective combines cybernetics with science fiction, mysticism, and rave culture. It's founded by Plant and Nick Land. The group explored how accelerated technological capitalism outpaces human control, algorithmic and digital culture. Today's cybernetic culture is the most visible in digital ecosystems. Social media algorithms, AI, and information networks form massive self-regulating feedback loops that influence public perception, cultural trends, and human behavior. So if you stuck with me this far, you see that, like, some of the things that I was saying kind of line directly up with that. You're being manipulated and controlled, mind controlled. And sometimes just stepping away from the screen can put you in a position where you have the advantage over a lot of people around you, and you can, achieve some of the goals you had as a child. Some of the things as you went through the harsh realities of life that you thought you couldn't have, we have opportunities that are open to us to become the best version of yourself. But I'm gonna step back and give a couple more definitions. The first definition I wanted to go to was culture, and I just wanted just end on these two definitions. Culture is the act of tilling and preparing the earth for crops, cultivation, the application of labor, or other means of improvement. We ought to blame the culture, not the soil. Number two, the application of labor or other means to improve good qualities in or growth as the culture of the mind, the culture of virtue. Number three, the application of labor or other means in producing as the culture of corn or grass. Number four, any labor or means employed for improvement, correction, or growth. All right, culture. That was the noun version. This is the verb transitive. It means to cultivate. So let's just skip over to cultivate and end on that. So to cultivate, verb transitive, is to till, to prepare for crops, to manure, plow, dress, sow, and reap, to labor on, manage, and improve in husbandry, as to cultivate land, to cultivate a farm. Number two, to improve by labor or study, to advance the growth of, to refine and improve by correction of faults and enlargement of powers or good qualities, as to cultivate talents, to cultivate a taste for poetry. Number 3, to study, to labor, to improve or advance, as to cultivate philosophy, to cultivate the mind. Number 4, to cherish, to foster, to labor, to promote and increase, as to cultivate the love of excellence, to cultivate gracious affections. Number 5, to improve, to ameliorate, or to labor, to make better, to correct, to civilize, as to cultivate the wild savage. And last but not least, number 6, to raise or produce by tillage, as to cultivate corn or grass. So I'm going to end on that. Like I said, the CCRU and picked up where the technocrats have left off, and they've merged in order to cultivate the culture that we are living in today. And some people may say this culture is better than the culture of the past. I would say, in some ways, but for the most part, man, just a little something to think on. If you've never thought about it, man, maybe it's something that you can explore, and maybe you'll enjoy it. You never know, man. But I love to see where this takes us, where we go as we continue to dive in and understand who controls the Leviathan and who should control the Leviathan. Because remember, the kingdom of heaven is within. It comes not with observation. Peace and love. Taj signing out.